Good morning, wherever you are.
Hello, hello.
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 Good to be here with you.
Thank you. So we're gonna start our day, and so today we're gonna be discussing the topic of interfaith dialogue, and we have very prominent personalities on our panel, and we'll have Kiran Bali. She is going to join us soon. She is the director, chairperson, global chair of the URI. And we have Maria Crespo, who is with us already. And she's director of cooperation of CCs. And we're gonna have Karima Stauch. She's regional coordinator for Europe. And then we have Rukmini Walker. She's member of the board of directors for the Bhakti Center in New York and very experienced in interfaith. So, and in the beginning, we just wanted to do something to create the mood for today's session. And we wanted to have a little meditation along with the song, have some powerful interfaith spiritual beginning. Some of you might know about the Agape Church in Los Angeles, and Michael and Ricky Beckwith. And so this is the song by Ricky Beckwith. Very powerful song, which needs no extra explanations. And so we'll listen to the song, and you can meditate on the words and pray for our today's successful gift, successful forum. So let's see. Our support will start.
Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Let me love in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Let me love.
Sorry. I think our internet is not so steady at the moment, but I hope you enjoyed at least the part of the song. And it's really great tuning in to our today's topic, because we want to discuss about interfaith dialogue, and we have some of our panelists already here, and maybe we could start with Maria Crespo. Let me just give a few words of introduction to Maria Crespo. So she is maintaining all the communications with cooperation circles. She's the director of all the cooperation circles in the URI. And she is also approving new cooperation circles. And actually, her background is Roman Catholic Church. And so she is collaborating in the Episcopal Conference for Ecumenism relations with Judaism, Islam, and other religions. So Maria Crespo is very well familiar with the entire interfaith geography for many, many years. And if we could ask you the first question, going back to the roots, how did you come to the interfaith idea that, you know, it's not just enough practice your faith, but how did you decide suddenly? What happened? How did you decide to go interfaith from faith?
Thank you so much. I love this question. I am, as you said, Roman Catholic based in Argentina. So I really kind of, there's a majority of Roman Catholic, and my life until I was 40 was really very strongly committed to my church and to the education in my church. So I don't know if you know the World Catechism, but it has to do with formation, help families bring up their children in the Catholic tradition. Coming from a Catholic family, I'm the sixth of seven, and having formed a Catholic family with a mother of 5 children, and doing a lot of education tasks. I would say I'm a born educator. God knows why as an educator, I finished in several non-confessional schools, giving Catholic education after class, and these schools were receiving children of Catholic Church and of many other religions. And I found myself saying to the kids, well, when you finish your catechism, when you are in contact with children and your companions of other traditions, be respectful, open your hearts. There's always a lot to learn. You can learn to deepen in your own tradition by listening carefully to what children of other religions do. So please pay attention and be good listeners and share your own tradition with pride and with openness. And you know, as a teacher, whenever you say something, you feel that you have to do what you are asking children to do. It's coherent, right? And my own path didn't have that experience. So at that very moment, this was 1987, URI did the first meeting outside US, and it was in Buenos Aires. It was in my country. A friend of mine was helping organize that event. A dear priest, Father Louis Dolan, was kind of organizing that from URI, and I begged, I was invited, and suddenly I found myself in a group of whole week in a group of 70 people of different religions, spiritual expressions, and indigenous traditions for the first time. I can't say how excited I was. I was so happy, and it was kind of a big opening for me. And you say, well, Maria, you were 40. Yes, but this is not that common in Argentina. At least it was not in that time. People didn't get on together. In Argentina, I think we can still be from one religion and not meet people from other faiths, especially if you are a Roman Catholic, because it's the majority. So I was really very moved, and I decided I needed to engage in URI, an interfaith movement, and work not only for my benefit, but also for the benefit of others. So from then on, I really committed myself to, especially in education, just to help children of different faiths to be able to listen, respect, learn, open to kids or young people of other religions. What we do in Argentina with our cooperation circle is visit schools with a team of people or leaders of different faiths and open this to schools that are confessional, right? Catholic, Jew, Muslim, schools that are just close to that, and where children could and youth can stay there just in that. That group of people without connecting with others. Doing that, I connected to the URI Global Network and started as a volunteer, and then as a regional coordinator for Latin America, and finally as part of the global support staff. And at this moment, is so much part of my life to be together, working with people of different faiths, and having the experience every day of the beauty of this tapestry of people of different religions, spiritual expressions and indigenous traditions. So there was a discovery, and there was a will to share that discovery and make it part of my life.
Thank you very much, Maria, for sharing your journey so far. Maybe we could ask Karima Stau, who is also very prominent person in URI, because she's regional coordinator for Europe, and she actually is the chair of the German Muslim League in Bonn, and she is member of the Council of the Sufi Order, Tariqa as-Safina, and she's on the board of URI German, member of the Central Council of Muslims in Germany, member of the organizing team of the Christian Islamic Conference at Pentecost. For many years, she served on the board of the Christian Islamic Society and on the planning team of the Standing Conference of Jew, Christian, and Muslims in Europe, the planning team of the Three Faiths Summer School at Ammerdown, UK, on the board of the Bandor Forum for Ecumenical Encounter and Interfaith Dialogue, as well as delegate to the Council of Muslims in Bonn. So it looks like Karima is rooted in Islam, but she has long history of interfaith involvement. And Karima, if we could ask, how did the journey started for yourself? How did you decide to go from faith to interfaith? If you could please share with us.
Thank you, Swami, for the warm welcome. And I feel so happy and honored to be with you, and I'm amazed by what you are creating here. So it's a big pleasure. So in my early 20s, when I was at the beginning 20s, I was not particularly involved in religion. I think like many people, at least in Western Europe, probably I was feeling that oftentimes religions are abused, or they could be empty rituals, and maybe it's just also youth reaction to authority, wanting to know for yourself. So somehow it happened that I was not very much involved in religion. But I used to have a friend who treated me so well and whom I could see inner strength in. So there was some kind of an opening there. I saw there is a whole invisible world behind the visible world, which is intertwined. And there is an art of life, so to say. And that set me out on a journey, on a path, wanting to learn about this art of life and about deeper knowledge. So then came a searching period, and at the end, or at some point, I encountered Sufi Muslims. So to my own surprise, I got more and more deeper into Islamic Sufism. So that particular community or order that I belong to has strong roots in Muslim Spain and Andalusia. And so it has tradition going back 800 years. And then we believe it goes back beyond that to the founder of the Islamic faith, and even beyond that, because like mysticism or spirituality is universal in a way. And I can say that coming into that particular community and meeting my particular teacher, it had that interfaith tradition. Since the days of Andalusia and beyond, when we sit together in circles of remembrance, of prayer, there is always, or whenever it's possible, there are people of different faith and different traditions. So who give gifts and who also share their prayers and who share their spirituality with us and their humanness. So that was one thing, the spiritual part, which was kind of interfaith, even if rooted in Islam. And with it, on the worldly plane came activities too, because on worldly level, it has two tasks, this community, and one is to go into dialogue with others and see each other as humans and make sure we interact in a positive and constructive way. And the other one is standing up for the rights of women. And both of them I liked immediately. So that also drew me further into my particular path. So that started a journey of, and since then there were hundreds of lectures and encounters and organizations and groups. But I would say that I was mostly formed by some events that happened several days where you can go very deep. And then came URI, which opened my world, my world to the whole world. So when before we, let's say we had groups and dialogues, that brought the world in, and the realization that the world really, that is a global village in a way, and brought in all the traditions and all the countries and all the human family. And I think that suffices for now, more later.
Thank you very much, Karima. The personal stories are always touching, and yours is very enlivening. So we have Rukmini Walker, who is the guest for the URI, but she has a long history of getting involved in interfaith as well. And she's helping in New York and internationally to establish dialogues with different faiths. So if we could ask Rukmini to please share, how did you develop interest in interfaith? Maybe how did you realize that it is very important part of serving God in your tradition, please?
Thank you very much, Maharaj. Thank you for inviting me. So I would say that I come from a Jewish background, and I grew up in a predominantly Christian culture in the US, and I was raised in suburban Chicago. And I think, you know, I was always sort of considered myself as an outsider a little bit, kind of the other in a dominant culture that wasn't my own. And I was a rebel. And when I was only 16, at the ripe old age of 16, I met my guru, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and I became his disciple. And he's a teacher from the Bhakti tradition, Bhakti Yoga tradition, which is the yoga of devotion and action. And I was particularly drawn to him, I would say, because he spoke about his regard for Christ, for Jesus Christ. And he spoke about his high regard for Muhammad. Once a monastic from the from one of the monastic traditions of Christianity asked him, what is your opinion of Jesus Christ? And he folded his hands and he bowed his head and he said, oh, he is our guru. So I was very drawn to that very broad perspective. And I think many people in our tradition were drawn to his teachings because of that. Also, he taught that the same sacred spirit essence is there in every living being, no matter what tradition or what color, and even the animals, even the trees, even the aquatics. So I think that's a very, very broad and sacred teaching that resonates with me. But following that tradition since the age of 16, which is for me now over 50 years, I've also still always kind of been the outsider, the other in cultures where our tradition, which is very ancient in India, is considered to be very strange and, to many people. I have, my husband and I have been involved in Interfaith Dialog here in Washington, D.C., where I live. For over 25 years, we've had a Christian Vaishnav. So our Bhakti tradition is called Vaishnava. And we have a Vaishnava Christian dialogue that's gone on for over 25 years, and a Vaishnava Muslim dialogue that's gone on for, I think now going on about 8 years. And then maybe 8 years ago, we started a Vaishnava Christian dialogue in India also. So that's been very interesting. The exchanges of people who, lived under colonialism in different ways. People, so our Vaishnava Christian dialogue involves Protestants and Catholics and Vaishnavas from different traditions, different Bhakti traditions. So that's been very interesting. I also have a blog and a website called Urban Devis. So I appreciated the comment about understanding the importance of women's voices. So I started this Urban Devi, it's urbandevi.com if you'd like to look for it. I started this Urban Devi community a number of years ago to uplift the voices of women on the Bhakti path. So that's something that's very important in my life. And maybe that's all for now. I think.
Thank you very much,
Mm-hmm.
Rukmini Devi. Mm-hmm. And this is really wonderful that you've started your spiritual journey so young and you're still taking so much, effort to carry on this path and take so much responsibility.
Thank you.
For uniting faiths. Thank you. And actually, we are extremely fortunate because we have Kiran Bali, who is the chairperson for the entire URI Global. And she's gracing us today with her presence, and she's an amazing personality in so many ways. She not only she is a leader, but she's a writer, she is a poet, and she's amazingly gifted personality. And we wanted to ask Kiran, how did you end up having so much interest in doing what you're doing?
Well, thank you so much for the introduction. I would like to begin just by thanking iFast and all the organizers for their inspiring leadership in arranging these important, informative sessions that we've been having all week. There has been so many really important chances for reflection and sharing and mutual learning and listening. And those are the key values that we all practice as part of interfaith relations. So thank you so much for all of your efforts and for making this happen. I'm very inspired, and thank you for your leadership. So absolutely. So we live in a world where over 84% of the population identify with a particular religious tradition or spiritual expression. So that is a huge number. And just imagine what can be done when everybody works together in interfaith cooperation. So I'd like to start really by asking my colleague to play a little video. It's a very short one. It's only 1 minute and 50 seconds. But what that is, it's a capture of the things that interfaith cooperation has achieved, and the beautiful nature of it, and why it's important. And then I'll talk a little bit about maybe some of the learnings and some of the challenges that we have to look into as we move forward in this ever-changing world. So let's go for the video first, if we can.
Kishore Rani, please let us see the video and hear the beautiful poetry of Kiran, which I already had fortune of watching, and I was very impressed.
The times we live in are uncertain and strange. Collective interfaith action is indeed the catalyst for meaningful change. From violence and injustice, our whole world is reeling. Interfaith cooperation offers a medium of action-based healing. Listening, holding hands, then treading the path in unity, enhancing religious understanding whilst promoting peaceful community. Drawing upon such rich spiritual beliefs and views, applying model practices which serve to encourage and enthuse, walking the talk, creating a more healthy and safe space, ensuring inclusivity and acceptance, sharing with grace, challenging the discrimination and intolerance so clearly seen, committing to improve the life journey for each one and thee, women's empowerment, environmental action, human rights, embracing new possibilities, establishing circles of mutual insights, pioneering care and compassion through fruitful interactions, creating the ripple effect, expanding a positive reaction, defying the prevailing darkness, shining so bright. Through a lens of interfaith glows a rainbow of light.
Thank you so much for playing that. We all know the jewel that interfaith cooperation is, and all the gifts that, each one of you on the call have. Each of the volunteers brings to this, and the passion and the impact that's having on the whole community, on the whole world. And that is something we should really celebrate, making a difference in all of these different areas and how we work together in cooperation. So in terms of moving forward into the future, as we know, everything's changing. That's life, nothing is going to stay the same. And so I think I'd like to talk about just 3 challenges that I think we all together as a community must really look into if we want to really go further with our interfaith cooperation work and take it from strength to strength. So the first thing that I'd like to say is that we must continue to practice as we preach. So there's a lot of introspection required for us as individuals of different traditions to help stop religion being projected as a wish-fulfilling tool. So we know that religion has a much greater strength than to fulfill material desires, to become rich, to become successful. And we know that religious belief is not a transaction for any longings of selfish motives. Rather, religion, faith, should be reinforced as a path of service through a journey to the divine. And service is the absolutely key word. So I think that's something we really need to look at as a challenge in how we, as individuals from different faiths, practice our faith fully, sincerely, and that then translates into our actions. So the solution there could be that we show the compassionate side of religions through building community, as we're already doing, but we utilize the places of worship that we have as sanctuaries to transform people's thinking and mindsets. And IFAST are doing such a great job in terms of, the spiritual side and the importance of one's conscience. Until we transform our conscience and take it to a new level, there are a lot of things we may not understand. Things may not make sense. And we need to look deep within. So that was the first thing. The second challenge, I think, is technology. And when I say technology, I'm just talking really now about social media. We know how helpful and fabulous technology is. It's offering us cutting edge advantages, new channels. But for religious organizations, that's allowing us to reach some really big audiences around the world. I mean, look at Zoom. It's allowing us all to come together. And it's so beneficial and so wonderful. Our social media accounts are giving us a platform which serve the congregations. We can expand our religious lives, our thoughts, our insights, and we can really explore doctrinal concerns. And when an emergency hits, for example, social media posts can really pass on the word and rally support. So the operative word now is moderate. I think our world seems to be run by technology. And as human beings, we're actually amazed by our own discoveries. We're giving so much time to our smartphones. We feel compelled to look at these smartphones every few minutes, to check an email, to play Candy Crush. And they continually serve to draw people into distraction and error. And just thinking about the younger population, we're seeing that they have shorter and shorter attention spans, which is making it more difficult for them to sit through prayer meets in places of worship and lectures. And according to the study by Microsoft, the average attention span of humans has dropped from 12 seconds in 2000 to 8.25 seconds in 2012. Now, let me tell you, the average attention span of a goldfish is 9 seconds. So what's the challenge? The challenge is that we're losing a next generation of the faithful and traditions of thousands of years of storytelling, because numbers are dwindling in congregations, and that's because prolonged hours on social media are causing anxiety and depression. How do we tackle this? Well, working as parents to limit children's access to smartphone apps, focusing on technologies that share messages of faith, kindness, and service, and introducing more service-based projects, especially in places of worship. So we need to move from those virtual pilgrimages on smartphones to real life pilgrimage through actions. So it doesn't mean moving around the world, especially in a pandemic, where travel is limited, but it's action speaking louder than words. How are we going to fulfill our faith through actions? Less time on the smartphone, more time on the ground with the communities. And my final one is ethical values. All of our religions are built upon values and laws which are natural and permanent. Yet in our world, it seems that we suffer from being able to make permanent choices. So what is behind this rise of a culture which seeks immediate gratification? We're valuing materialism. Relationships have become very fragile. We can become very bored easily, thinking that when we're challenged to put our minds to something, we turn off our capacities and declare ourselves unbelievers. We can't do it. This current lack of sophistication is not new. Pleasure-seeking, selfishness, materialism have been there for decades, but what we're seeing more of today is it's an unprecedented level of that. So there's something we really need to think about there in how our values are lived. And so how do we tackle those? Well, we, as you saw in the video, we all promote humility, compassion, we help each other. We go back to our scriptures, strong education programs aimed at teaching ethics and values, especially for the younger people, children in schools, and polish up our souls to guide our spiritual journey. And you have all heard of the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. That's the foundation of all of our work. We take spiritual insights from each of these beautiful religious traditions, and we reiterate the importance of coming together, sharing, and really breaking the illusion that anyone different to us is inferior. And the result is that the concept of otherness then is dissolved, and we have an antidote to any sourness. So these are just 3 challenges, I think, that as people of faith, especially in a large interfaith community, we need to be tackling regularly to ensure that our interfaith movement continues to go from strength to strength with more impact on people's lives around the world. Thank you so much for listening to me, and thank you again for organizing this wonderful session.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Kiran. If I would summarize your message just in a nutshell, I would say that it should be achieving transformation through developing high values in spiritual practices. And we can see that Kiran is really a lady with a mission. She's a British magistrate, and she's a member of British Empire. And we can see that she's really gifted from above to carry on very special mission. So thank you. And now let's have a little bit of entertainment. You know, everybody loves some fun, interesting, you know, transformative stories. And if any of our panelists would like to share some experience in interfaith, which really helped you to understand something you never thought before, or have some special experience through interfaith and help you to realize the special value of interfaith discussion, cooperation, or association. So let's see. We could call the panelists one by one. Maybe Maria Crespo can share some of the stories. I'm sure she had so many over the years. Please, Maria.
Thank you, Sami, and thank you for every one of the other panelists. Kiran, your presentation was so good and presented us the challenges that we are addressing day after day as a society, and also as interfaith community. Having been involved in URI for many years, so this story that I told before is 1997, so it has come more than 20 years. The beginnings of URI were more, of course, face-to-face, and there was not technology that would support other type of meetings, or there was a little bit of internet, email. There was a lot of fax, and one of the very strong things in URI is the preamble, purpose, and principles, and they are the guide of these ethic values that Kiran was talking about. When we created what we call the PPPs, we went, and Sally is in the call, we went back and forth with faxes, trying to, so the purpose of URI is to create daily enduring interfaith cooperation to end religiously motivated violence and create cultures of peace, justice, and healing for the earth and all living beings. But this purpose, so well drafted, was created in a participatory way, and there were comments, and there was Charles Gibbs usually tells us about this, says there was a group that said, if the purpose doesn't bring God, it doesn't represent me. But at the same time, there were people that said, well, if it brings God, it doesn't represent me. So the challenge of interfaith cooperation, interfaith dialogue, interfaith understanding is, how do we work together and meet the challenges with openness, with trust, with good listening spirit, and trying to find a path that guides us to what we want to achieve. And that beautiful story was, and it was very interesting also. It was at that moment of writing the purpose, when we talked about earth and all living beings, what earth represents to us Christians as, and we would use the capital letter, and what earth means to indigenous people that were also in the drafting. So there was a challenge there, and also there was a challenge in technology. And technology, I always say, grew with URI. So from those faxes, we started having phone calls, but able to do conference calls on the phone. And I remember being 2-3 hours on the phone. I have to confess, I had to do a solitary, just not to, my mind not to go from the call. And then the technology provided us the possibility to be together in a different way and to be together as we are today. And thinking of a challenge or a challenging situation as COVID at this moment to 2020 year that was so special and so difficult and so challenging to find ourselves together. And we are in Zoom, and URI community met in Zoom in very many, we are called to Zoom meetings all the time, and there was a big challenge. We could do activities on Zoom. Can we be spiritual in Zoom? Can we pray in Zoom? Can we feel connected as individuals on Zoom? And we have worked on that. It is, I will paste in the chat what URI cooperation circles around the world have done to support those that were lonely because of COVID isolation, of those that didn't have what is needed for cleaning or for water, those that were in stress because they didn't have food at the table. So, and again, much of that was done through technology. So I completely get how technology is separating us from the spiritual, but also can bring the experience of spiritual gatherings and mutual support through technology. So it is the way that we use the tools, not the tools that are the menace. We have learned to pray on Zoom and be spiritual, and we will continue to grow doing that. And as an interfaith experience, as a faith experience, and again, going back to my Roman Catholic here in Argentina, I had a year of masses online, and the participation on these masses is much more than those that were presential. So interfaith experience, faith experience, commitment, and action that is supported by the spiritual and the positive intention is something that I want to search as an individual and try to accompany others who want that in our URI community. And there are so many experiences. I could be here for longer, but just that for now.
Thank you, Maria. I can see that URI PPPs are engraved in your heart, and you live those and you know them by heart. So we will ask Karima to please share a story, some transformative story from your interfaith experience. But since we are a little short of time, if that could be short story, short and sweet, please, Karima.
I think my colleagues have set the scene in a very nice way. On the one hand, we will deal with the technology, it offers new ways. On the other hand, we need a certain stubbornness maybe to make sure we bring it onto the ground, but in our interactions, awareness of it. And I'm sure that in creative ways, it always evolves, as Maria has been so nicely telling how it's always going on. Many things can be done online. I just remember in the URI history how I impressed was about the different water ceremonies done by indigenous peoples, done by our pagan brethren, where people from all over the world brought their water and it was united into one bowl. And this water had been mingled and even brought to the different UN summits, to different interfaith conferences around the world. And that made so clear to me how important it is to what we know, that we are connected, or many of us know, to also bring it to the physical space. That adds another dimension. And it's nice if we can do it face to face. Maybe it can also be adapted online. Maybe Kiran will know, or somebody else, if it has already been done online. Something else that was so moving for me, which I think face to face, it was amazing. I remember being at a URI Global Council Global Staff meeting in the United States, and it was the opening day, and meeting Dr. T.D. Singh from the ISKCON movement with his stick that he was carrying and his head. It was not fresh weather. And so there was that sense of hospitality, and knowing all that he's done, combining religion and science, but also the amazing dedication and hospitality. So he, at the end of the evening, he led us into a dance. And it will be forever in my heart to see the man throwing away his stick and showing us the words. He wrote it onto a piece of paper, teaching us the words of the song, and then inviting us to dance. So that's a sense of hospitality and communion, which maybe I forgot many things of that meeting, but that remains with me. And it was wonderful being in the same space and doing that together. Yeah, I believe in interfaith being done holistically. It was also addressed by my colleagues. So it's on all levels. It's intellectual, sharing ideas, sharing reflections on the world situation, as we're doing here now. It's practical. It can be creative, artistic, as we've also seen the beautiful poem. The spiritual elements. Food is so nice. It's a little bit difficult to share food online, but one can do it. I have a friend, she does bring women together also for meditation, and they always have some tea at the end. And she was telling me we are doing it now also online. And I always ask my fellow women to show their cup. So it becomes a little bit more deeper, or more, it's not just everybody drinks their tea, but we share, what are we drinking it from? What does the cup look like, to make it more feasible, or more real, tangible. So I think there is these little ways, and at the same time we'll also stress and educate and make it clear, and that being together in action and in a space of hospitality, and that's also really transformative, and it needs some time. This was interesting to hear about the attention span. Some of our events have a week time. In URI Global Council, Global Staff meetings, they're a week, or Global Assembly in Mayapur that we were in 2008, which was an amazing experience. These things, they need time. Over time, one transforms, one goes through different phases. So it's important to have those glimpses and all these amazing activities. It's also important to have some events which take some time, so we can all grow together even more, and on all levels, sharings on so many levels. Yeah, I think maybe one last thing, that it helps when you come to difficult issues. I'm now thinking of conflicts, for example. I remember conversations about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and I'm sure there are so many more, yeah, where it becomes difficult because people have been hurt so much. Then my experience is that it helps to have an experienced group together. If you have a group that has gone through these difficult and has transformed them, and can say to others who are hurting, you know, I know how you feel, but I have gone through it, and we are here with you so that you can also go through it. That does help also. So having experienced and newcomers, and it's really, I echo Kiran's word that is important, that to open to the next generation, and we need always to see how we can also attract them, young people, to interfaith dialogue and make it attractive for them, so that we have everybody there.
Thank you, Karima. That was really beautiful sharing. And a special thanks for remembering Dr. Singh, who is, of course, very dear to us, being one of our very senior spiritual leader, and sharing that you've enjoyed our hospitality at Mayapur. And actually, I think it will not be a huge crime if I'll break a little news, which could become a big news for many of you. We've discussed on the first day with our Bishop Swing, and he said, why don't you host global gathering for the URI in Almaty? He was asking Malika Mala, our leader. So there is a possibility that we'll be hosting all of you again, and we'll again have wonderful food and dancing together and enjoying wonderful association. So thank you very much. And so we'll ask Rukmini to share the joys of interfaith experiences she had, I'm sure, over the years. If you could tell a few short and sweet stories to help us to.
Thank you. I'm so happy that Karima, you had a good experience in Mayapur, and I know you know, our dear friend Reverend Dr. Charles Gibbs was very indebted to Dr. T.D. Singh to bring the URI group to Mayapur, because he was moved by the man's humility and holiness. But I wanted to be a little bit candid here and tell you that I heard from some URI members that they did not have such a good experience there in Mayapur, because some of our people who they met in Mayapur were a little bit competitive, trying to defeat them philosophically, or you know, preach to them and defeat them. So that was very painful to my heart. And of course, I didn't hear that story from Charles Gibbs because he was too gracious to mention something like that. But I know some people had that experience. So that's a regret that I have in my heart for that kind of small-mindedness. I wanted to share a couple of things. Let me see what to share. The time is brief and there's so much to share. I wanted to say that in our dominant culture today, there is a pyramid of power with human beings at the top, dictating and dominating to other creatures, to the animals, to the earth, to the aquatics, to the trees. But in our tradition, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has taught us that we should uplift the grass, the lowly grass, and be more humble than a blade of grass, and uplift the trees and try to become more tolerant than a tree that gives of itself in snow and rain and winter and in all ways. So I think that we need a shift of this pyramid of power, and to, instead of having humans at the top, I think we need to create a shift and put the grass and the earth and the trees and all living beings at the top, and place ourselves as human beings at the bottom, and ask, how can I serve? As Kiran was saying, how can I serve the world? How can I serve all living beings who share the same sacred spiritual essence that I have within me? So just to be brief, that's what I would like to share. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Rukmini. And of course, Kiran, if we could ask you to share some nice, or maybe not so nice, whatever, transformative experience from interfaith interactions.
Thank you so much. And thank you to all the other speakers as well. I'd like to share that something transformed for me in my own mind when I came to URI and I saw this concept of shared community, which was originally all about human beings. It translated and transcended to a concept of shared community, including animals and the environment. And I think that was a big milestone for me in terms of my experience, because it realizes that it's not just the human race, which are the beings. We are not just the community. We are part of a big community who we extend love and compassion to. And indeed, we're all interconnected. Let me just give you an example of what's happened in the pandemic. During lockdown, what we've seen is more and more people have been relying on pets for their stress, to help them cope through their mental issues, their mental health. And those emotional bonds that they formed with pets have actually helped them go through this very difficult time. Some were suffering from loneliness, not being able to leave the house. It's the pets who have really helped people. And we must remember that every being is divine. And so we must see the God in all beings. The other thing I'd like to say is that I saw how wonderfully our Indigenous sisters and brothers were always reminding us of the importance of the environment, Mother Nature. Nature is our mother, and that important relationship, and how we must continue to protect our mother, respect our mother, but also ensure that, you know, we do no harm to our mother. And that's been so important. On the words do no harm, I'd like to say that there's a huge movement which is beyond religion, beyond race, and that's called veganism. And what that's about is collective care, caring in all ways, in what we eat, what we do, what we wear, so that we're not part of this chain of pain and suffering. And I think that's just been so inspiring for me. I'd like to just end by saying that following the pandemic, 2021 has given us a really good opportunity to rejuvenate our spirit and our ethics. Our faith can assist us in doing that. But I'd like to leave you with this one line, and that is, theism should not be interpreted as meism. Rather, let us translate theism into weism. Thank you so much for having me, everyone. And thank you to the organizers. I'll have to leave in a few minutes.
Thank you very much, Kiran, and especially, of course, it's really important for all of us to take it seriously and exclude all the violence products from our food and from our lives. That's going to be a very big step in our spiritual development. And so, since unfortunately we don't have much time, we wanted to thank all our panelists and actually do the small groups and discuss the questions which will be displayed by our Kishori Rani for everyone amongst ourselves, and see what kind of gifts we can exchange with each other, gifts of love, attention, care, collaboration, and how we can make this world better by creating interfaith collaboration between ourselves and helping each other in this very important work. So very soon we'll be parting, going into separate rooms, and I wish all of you wonderful personal interactions and exchanges with so many participants, and then we'll be coming back after 30 minutes or so, maybe 35, and sharing what we've discovered on what we've gained through that association, which I think we're gaining every day. So while we're waiting for the rooms, okay, I could share one very short story from my interfaith experience. I was driving, I was taking a cab in Singapore, and I saw that the driver had the little statue of Buddha at the front of his car, and the statue had a flower. And I really appreciated that. I said, looks like you're a serious Buddhist, you're worshiping your Lord Buddha. And he said, yes, I love Lord Buddha. And he looked at me, he said, are you a Buddhist monk? I said, no, I'm a Hare Krishna monk. He said, how do you appreciate Buddhists if you are Hare Krishna? You're supposed to preach to me and try to convert me. I said, no, because, you know, Buddha, we also accept him as the Supreme Lord in our tradition. I appreciate what you are doing. And we had such a wonderful conversation. He was asking me how he can advance spiritually. I told him, you know, get spiritual knowledge, associate with advanced practitioners, chant the holy name, O Lord Buddha, and you will advance. And he was so happy at the end of the journey. You know, we told him, how much do we pay? He said, you don't have to pay me anything, rather I will pay you. And he gave $20. You know, this was like really amazing taxi. the driver pays the passenger at the end of the journey. But he was so impressed that we appreciated him and his spiritual practices. So I was thinking, you know, it doesn't matter what people practice, as long as they practice it seriously, they will definitely advance, and we should just, you know, support and encourage everyone as much as we can. So that was something I've learned. So thank you. So yeah, without further ado, hopefully our rooms are ready. Kishori Rani, please send us in our rooms. Thanks for spending time with each other. And if someone wanted to share something exciting you realized or you heard, or yeah, from yourself or from others as the result of this discussion, and please make sure that you are brief, because we want as many participants to share as possible. So Trata Prabhu, if you want to share, but please take just 1 minute, but please unmute yourself.
Thank you, Maharaj. I want to speak briefly, as quick as I can. So this is from room 3. So actually we have members of Interfaith group, which is very experienced, except me. So we got the point that the education is very important. So when we able to educate as God as love and life as one family. So then it will solve the problems which most commonly bring the imbalance, inequilibrium of inter-religious relationships, which is lack of knowledge. So from my experience, also I want to share that from a lecture, that the interfaith dialogue will be interfaith interaction will be successful if every members of different faiths strengthen or deepen their understanding of their respective faith. So when that happens, the interreligious dialogue will be in a good or harmony. So this happened in my experience also when I was in Timor. So because there gather people from all different corner of Indonesia during the occupation of East Timor and the Indonesia. So I met from different faiths there. So when I was there with lack of knowledge in the discussion, I was trying to dominate the discussions. That is not good for me. Then after I understanding my Hindu religions in the Hare Krishna deepens philosophy with understanding of God, our relationship with God, then the goals. So I understand that all different different religions is they're just like different different language, which maybe speaks the same essence, the same goal, like to surrender, to love, and to be near with God. So just 2 weeks ago, my experience in dialogue with my students, she's very young, like 23. Even she can understand when she read about the different names of God according to Islam. It's like 99. Then when I check, oh, this is quite similar. All of them is similar to what I found in my Hindus or traditional Vedic culture. So then our students also agree. Oh yeah, this is because only different language, but the essence is quite the same. So understanding or deepens our understanding of our respective faith is the key success. And also during interaction, we should try to find what the unifying things, yeah, that will make our good relationship with different religions groups, and also what things in other religions or which make them so enthusiastic to follow their religions. That is a very good. If we understand that, it is a benefit in our interreligious interaction. Thank you.
Thank you, Shraddha Prabhu. And so Patri Prabhu is next. Please unmute yourself. And then Alexandra is next.
Thank you so much to everyone. Really, I'm just, how many of you saw somebody who fell in love? I'm sure everybody have experience of seeing people in the street, sometimes oblivious to the environment. They just fell in love and they are somewhere in honeymoon or somewhere. And today we were, in the group, and I saw a person who fell in love with God. So Karima, today she was offering her wonderful prayers, and we were singing also together. Everybody were sharing their realizations. And it's such a nice experience to be with the people who fell in love with God. You see? And therefore, that's why it's a beauty in the eyes of, beholder. Because we can, and I really appreciate that proposal. We have to understand, what is inspiring people of this or that tradition to be so enthusiastic in their worship. So I really very much thankful to everyone, and really looking forward. There were even proposal, why don't we at the end of the session, everybody will offer their prayers respectively, individually, like saying Christians prayers or, Muslim namaz or something, wonderful poetry from Sanskrit poetry. And it will be like prayers. There's some wonderful prayers. And in our mind, we can take each other's hands, together in circle, big circle. So we can embrace all world like this. And literally we are embracing all world. Somebody from US, somebody from Europe, somebody from Russia, Kazakhstan, somebody from Nepal, from Himalayas to New York, we can embrace our hands through Zoom. And in this way, we can offer prayers together at the end. Thank you.
And it was Patri Das who inspired me because he sang first. Wonderful song. So talking about the language of love.
Thank you, Karima. Alexandra, please unmute yourself. It's at the bottom, your microphone. Click the bottom, yeah. Okay, let me. Maybe Kishore Rani, you can help Alexandra to unmute herself.
Unfortunately, I don't have this power. I can only mute people, but not
I see,
unmute.
okay. So it is at the very bottom, Alexandra, at your left-hand side, the microphone. Click on this. No, this is video. Next to it is microphone.
Hare Krishna. I very happy for see you and all, and thank you for today. Sorry, I have to bad English, but I some listen more. Yes, and very important theme, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Alexandra. our Rukmini Devi wants to say a few words. Please share with us your realizations.
Yes, we had a beautiful, can you hear me?
Yes.
We had a beautiful conversation, and we talked about how real dialogue begins between one open-hearted person and another, one trusting person and another. It's not between institutions, it's not between systems, it's between two open-hearted people, and that synergy is there. And I thought of Martin Buber and his I thou philosophy. So not that the other person is other, but the other person is sacred, just as God is sacred. And I wanted to share one other little thing. I'm hoping Sally will share also what she said, but something came across my desk this morning. When two ears are put side by side, they form the shape of a heart. Interestingly, the word ear sits right in the middle of the word heart, H-E-A-R-T, right? The ear is the way to the heart. So if you want someone's heart, learn to listen to them. If you want God's heart, learn to listen to him. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rukmini. Wonderful reminder that listening is most important human faculty.
And
Okay,
yes,
Sally.
I would like to offer a theme that really held our conversation together was about the heart, listening with the heart and opening the heart. The heart is rising. Sort of seems like the world is actually learning how to respond with the heart. And that reminded me of a story. I do interviews with leaders on the inner voice of leadership. And I spoke with a woman in South Sudan named Jane Alexander, and her cooperation circle is called Wipe My Tears. So it's women who are there for other women who have suffered in so many different ways. And when I asked her, so how do you do this work, Jane? What motivated you? Jane said, well, it was my mother. My mother taught me to see with my heart. And so I live my life trying to seeing with my heart. And I thought that expression was just so powerful. Let us see with our hearts and listen, of course, with our hearts.
Thank you, Sally. So if anyone else, Parabhakti, please share a few words with us.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So we have a wonderful conversation within our groups. We were practicing different religion, but everyone was united with the same goal. Know better each others, respect the others, love the others, and cooperate for a better society. That was a very key point, just that anyone is practicing his own religion in a different rituals, in a different way, but the mood, the goal should be the same. That was uniting all of us. And really thank the members of this group because it was so wonderful, and it was a source of inspiration for all of us, for hear from the others the way that they love God and they want to serve the others and all the society. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much. And just a reminder to the ISKCON devotees, we can skip saying Hare Krishna to everybody because we have diverse faith groups in here. So actually, we had really powerful conversation in our room, and I'll share a little bit while everyone else is preparing to thinking what you want to say. Because what we've discussed was that regardless of the religion, and Nrisingananda, one of our future panelists, he made that point that there is so much problems with fanaticism and extremism in religious circles, and this is big headache. And actually, this reminds us of what the scripture explained, that there are always, new zealous converts who want to prove that they're better than anyone else because they belong to a particular faith. But when spiritual practitioners become mature, they understand it's not about the tradition, but about people, about how, serious people are. And I remember on the very first day, our secretary for iFast, Salima, she made this beautiful point, and she brought up this amazing analogy that she said different religions are like different cups of different shape and form, but the spirituality is, which is the essence, is like water. And it doesn't matter which cup we use because we all need water. And it's interesting that Maria was, oh no, sorry, that not Maria, but
I think it was Karima.
Karima, yes, Karima, she was making this point that indigenous people, they really appreciate water because actually in our tradition also water stands for relationship with each other. And so relationship with the Supreme Being and with us, this is the essence of any tradition. And if people don't understand that, they cannot actually advance and they cannot make much difference. And this is why it's so great to see so many very mature practitioners right here, right now, who went beyond that, sectarian, we can say, fanatical understanding, and they look at the essence rather than forms. So I'm really glad to be with all of you. Thank you very much. And Patri again wants to share something with us. Please unmute yourself. At the bottom. You're still muted.
Okay. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate that, you bring about relationships, because at the end of the day, what we have each other. I mean, really each other. And I just cannot help myself not to recite one poem which I recited in our group. I'm sure that some of you may know this poem. It's called The Dash. The Dash. Would you like I'll recite this poem, The Dash? Unfortunately, I forgot who is the author of this poem. Oh, is it okay? I can just recite this short poem.
Sure, please, go ahead.
Dash. I read of a man who stood to speak at the funeral of the friend. He referred to the dates on her tombstone from the beginning to the end. He noted that first came her date of birth and spoke the following with the tears. But he said what matters the most of all was the dash between those years. For that dash represents all the time that she spent alive on earth. And now only those who loved her know what that little line is worth. For it matters not how much we own, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters is how we live and love and how we spend our dash. So think about this long and hard. Are there things you would like to change? For you never know how much time is left that can still be rearranged. If we could just slow down enough to consider what is true and real, and always try to understand the way that other people feel, and be less quick to judge and anger, and show appreciation more, and love the people in our lives like we had never loved before. If we can treat each other with respect, and more often wear a smile, remembering that this special dash might only last a little while. So when your eulogy's been read with your life's action to rehash, would you be proud of the things they say about how you spend your dash? So this is a dash. And this is wonderful if we can live together, forgetting about this external super pooper, packages, who we are, English, American, Russians, and as we discuss in our group, we have to learn the language of love from heart to heart. Of course, we were sharing some stories and the Sufi stories, how we are sharing these hearts. That's most important and relevant. Language of love. Thank you so much. And I'm sure everybody knows how to speak this language through transfer their energy of love and inspiration. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Patri. I quickly checked, and the author of the poem Dash is Linda Ellis.
Yes, yes, she's the one.
Thank you. All right, so anybody else wants to share your realizations? We still have a few minutes. Please be concise. You can raise your hand or just unmute yourself and share what you like to share.
I would like to share a little bit from our group. Some was said. I mean, it was a lot of storytelling and talking about the language of love and that the heart is so important to work together with the mind. I was also impressed to understand, maybe I had known and forgotten, that Go in Govinda is the cow and is the earth and is the senses and the respect that's in it for the earth and the female principle for the mother. That was also wonderful for me to be reminded in that way, because we are in such a critical time, as some people have been saying, in this phase of our earth, really. So that we also need balance here in that. So that was another joy.
Thank you, Karima. It's joy to associate with you as well. And Rukmini, if you like to share.
Yes,
please.
something else I shared in my group that I want to share with all of you. This is a kind of a riff on something from the Talmud, from the Jewish tradition. Let me just lower this hand. Do not be daunted by the enormity of the world's grief. Do justly now. Love mercy now. Walk humbly now. You are not obligated to complete the work, but neither are you free to abandon it.
Thank you. Beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All the scriptures, they have so much, wealth of wisdom of the millennium. And so at the end, Maria, you wanted to share something?
No, it's okay. You are pushing to the end, so this is okay. Just wanted to say how humbled to be with so much wisdom I am, and this is a special day. It is Human Fraternity Day. For the first time in the midst of World Interfaith Harmony Week, this Thursday is Human Fraternity, and thinking into the future. How much we have to do to really feel sisters and brothers among ourselves, and really feel that, as Karima said, we are sharing the planet, and we are one family.
Thank you, Maria. It's beautiful realization. Yeah, we're all brothers and sisters at the end of the day. Yeah, we're all one spiritual family. That's and thank you for reminding us about the International Day of Human Fraternity, UN special day. So that brings us towards the end of our wonderful exchanges and association, and we wanted to thank all of you for your kind support and participation. And let's do a little meditation or prayer at the end, because actually what many of us looking forward is to create powerful collaboration and moving forward together to help the world become much better place by sharing everyone the wisdom and the traditions, the value of our traditions, and do it together rather than just as members of our individual faith groups. So let's do a little prayer at the end. Everyone can do it in your own tradition. You can do it either verbally with your microphone muted, or in your mind with the microphone unmuted, wishing everyone full empowerment and transformation, which will allow everyone to become a perfect instrument in the hands of the Supreme, and not just benefiting ourselves, but benefiting everyone else by our service and becoming perfect in our service to the Supreme cause and to the humanity. So thank you all very much, and we're really looking forward to see all of you for our other days of the forum, because we have wonderful topics to discuss ahead of us. Kishore Rani, we have the topic of family, and tomorrow we have, which topic do we discuss? Do you remember? Okay, we have tomorrow family.
Tomorrow.
And we have Pata Monashvili, Nrisingananda, Edwina, and Pradyuman Singh Rathore. So please join us tomorrow, and we'll continue exchanging gifts of attention, love, care, support, and ultimately collaboration for the best cause. Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you very much.
Everyone.
Amazing.
Thank you,
Have a good
everyone.
day or
Thank
night
you.
or morning, depending on your time. I'm looking forward to see
Have
you.
a good
Thank
day.
you. Thank you for the gift.
Thank you. Thank you, Maria.
Thank
you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
It was amazing to see everyone,
Namaste.
Thank you.
to learn from everyone.
Lots of blessings.
Thank you.
Thank you for the gift. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, come on.